Evening, everyone. Welcome to the 20th installment of Beyond the Bases. I have the great pleasure of welcoming back Tyler Ferdinand back to the channel as he's won his fourth Manager of the Year award and 18 plus division title since 2020. So thank you for joining us, Tyler, and again, congrats.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, Whitney.
Yeah, so I mean, the fact that you've won now four Managers of the Years and four championships since 2020, feel free to give an acceptance speech because this is your moment, and I want to make sure you have a chance to, address everybody and just talk about the fact that you've won that many awards and championships in that short amount of time.
No, I appreciate it. As far as like the Manager of the Year awards, it really goes out to the team. As much as I'm just making lineups and ordering hats and ordering jerseys. Those guys have to be out there, doing their thing and performing in order for me to be put in a position like that. So really, it's all on the guys who show up every day and are able to get us enough wins and put us at the top of the standings where I'm able to be put in that position.
And then back to the championship series, you guys swept that series. But who won MVP? I'm curious because it wasn't told to me at least. But I'm curious and kind of if you can recap that series a little bit and how you guys were able to do it and who was at the kind of focal point of that.
Yeah, I'd say we kind of look at like MVP for like the whole playoffs rather than just, a series because in this instance, series only went 3 games, so it is kind of tough to tell. I'd say like MVP over the playoffs was probably Cam Baralt. He pitched for us. I don't think he let up an earned run in his 3 outings. He might have even had 4 appearances in the playoffs. But he pitched really well for us, and every time he was out there, we knew we had a really good chance of winning. Um, Offensively, it could go to a number of people. There was, Marcos, who only played in 4 games because he missed the first three due to some conflicts, but I think he hit like 5 or 600. Tommy Linnane, every time we need a big hit, big spot, he comes up there. Zach Walker really, really had a really good bat this postseason. He told me before the playoffs started, he said, I don't care if I hit. He said, but I'm going to make it damn hard for you to keep me out of the lineup. And, he did exactly what he told me he was going to do. Um, and then, Lucas Laterno, the youngest kid on our team, had the biggest hit and the biggest moment in game 3 of the championship. We were down one in the fifth inning. And, I think he had an 0-2 count or 1-2 count and he had a 2-run home run, which put us up for good. So, there's a lot of people that played a big part. Um, so
Well, it sounds like you have a all-around, balanced team. So, I guess we'll start with pitching, and specifically your brother Cam, who has the third best ERA in the 18 plus division during the regular season, and then allowed just 4 runs in 15 and a third innings in the postseason. So, talk about, his impact and just how proud you are as his brother as well.
yeah, no, it was nice to have him back. He's been in college the last 4 years, so his postseason runs have been pretty limited due to fall ball starting in college. Not overusing him because we're a men's league and he was in college, so he had a future to look after. And a men's league championship isn't more important than blowing a kid's arm out for his future. But it was big to have him back. It's nice to be able to give the ball to somebody, every game 1, every game 5, and know that, you have a really good chance of winning. He's been doing it since he was 17 in this league. So it is good to have, even though he's young, he's still a veteran pitcher for us. So that was massive. And I think just our pitching staff as a whole, it doesn't matter who you hand the ball off to. We all have a lot of confidence in each other. And we know we have guys in the pen where if you don't have it that day, maybe somebody else can step up and give us, a lengthy outing out of the pen.
Well, I was gonna say you have five pitchers with ERAs under two this postseason. So kind of describe each of their impacts and how, or for whoever you can remember. I don't know if you remember all of them off the top of your head. But just describe what that does to your team and what kind of confidence that gives you as a team to be able to, get maybe a certain number of runs, or maybe you don't need 15 runs in a game. And most of your games this postseason were pretty close. So yeah, how does your pitching play into that?
Yeah, so we're not reliant on our starter going 7 innings. Whether our starter gives us seven or our starter gives us two, we know we're in a good position just because of the bullpen that we have. I believe it was game two. Zach Walker, he's been really, really good for us. I think he had under a 2 ERA in the regular season. For a while, he was under a one. He could only give us 2 innings. He just didn't have it that day. So we went to our bullpen, Matty Borges. I think he maybe threw 2 or 3 innings for us the whole year. Went out and threw 5 innings, only let up 1 run, and kept us in the game. In order for us to come back because we were down, I believe 3-1 or 4-1 in that game, and we ended up coming back and winning. Um, but it's just trusting the next guy and knowing that if the starter doesn't do well, we're not out of it. Just hold on as long as we can, string a couple of scoreless innings together, and our bats will be able to pick up the slack.
And of course, you guys went 27-4 on the season, including undefeated in the postseason. Your offense being a big part of that, outscoring everybody 198 to 103, which again kind of seems to be a trend. Even though the postseason had a lot of close games, just the fact that you had that big of an offense that could carry you at any time, and like I said, if a pitcher has a bad day, then your offense can step in, or vice versa. So kind of talk about who is at the center of your offense. I think you briefly mentioned it, but you guys seem to have a well balanced team. So if there's anyone you want to shout out that you haven't talked about yet, here's your chance.
Yeah, I think the top of the order and the middle of the order guys have been there for a while. Lucas is kind of a younger guy, but um, he hit 500 in high school this year, only struck out 4 times, so he's easy to be plugged into the four spot, and he has some speed. But it's really the bottom of our order that really keeps it going. Sometimes the top does struggle, and then you get to guys like Nell Beret, Nelson Correa. Even Matty Borges when he's in the lineup, and if he's down at the bottom of the order, it's guys that can string hits together, work at bats to get back to the top of the order in order to give us a chance to be able to cash in. When guys are on base. I think that's the biggest thing. The bottom of the order has to be just as strong as the top of the order in order to score a bunch of runs or be able to put up a bunch of runs quickly.
And of course, if I remember correctly, you're at the top of the order quite a bit, if not all the time. So talk about how your speed, which we've talked about before, has a big impact on the game. So how does that, help you, and how did that help you throughout the season as well as the postseason? Just describe your impact, based on your speed and many other things. Obviously you're manager, but you're also at the top of the order. So where do you fit into this equation?
Yeah, so I usually hit second. I try not to bat lead off. I'm not a big fan of batting lead off. If we have to have it, I will do it. But I'm more comfortable at two, and we have Marcos at one, and he gets on base a bunch. He's a fast guy, so it's easy to do a lot of things when you have somebody who's always on base, who's fast. I can also then utilize my speed and lay down a bunt, which turns from a sacrifice into a base hit. And the next thing you know, we have first and second, and there's nobody out. We can do hit and runs. Really, my job is to see as many pitches as I can and try to use my speed as much as possible. I'm not a guy that's going to hit the ball over the fence a bunch. I'm not going to hit a bunch of gaps, but I am going to do whatever I need to do to utilize my speed to get on base.
Okay, and then obviously, like I mentioned before, you guys had a 27-4 record, but was there a specific team that gave you guys trouble at certain points during the season or at some point during the season? And how did you learn from that matchup to be able to, go as far as you did and win the entire thing? Because, obviously you can't have a perfect season. It's almost impossible in this league, but yeah, how did you learn from that experience and turn it into, what you did?
Yeah, I think we played like more on the tougher side of the schedule to begin the season. I think we started off 1-3 and then got to 2-4. And at that point we kind of really like looked at ourselves and was like, all right, let's lock in and let's rattle a couple wins off and get back on track and take one game at a time. The top three teams, you have both Marlins teams and the Mariners. They're all scrappy teams. They're going to give you everything they got. with the Malden Marlins, they have a couple power pitchers, so you know that you have to stay locked in and grind those games out. Um, and the Mariners have some good pitching as well, so you really got to grind those guys out. The Merrimack Valley Marlins, they're very scrappy. Whether they're down seven or they're down one, they're playing the same game. So it is tough to put them away sometimes, just because they are very scrappy and they have some arms, and they have some guys who can hit, and they do like to run a lot, so they keep you on your toes.
And then for your team, who do you see, if you want to take a crystal ball look in the future, who could potentially be an MVP candidate or Cy Young Award winner for you guys next year, just based on what you've seen?
Yeah, so I do know we have a couple of big additions that we're we're waiting for next season to start because they can be MVP and Cy Young candidates. I won't spill the beans on those just yet. But Tommy Linane, Derek Pizarro, um, those are definitely MVP candidates. And then you on the pitching side you have Cam, you have Zach Walker, Nick Radcliffe. I mean he's been doing it for a while. He's just a crafty lefty. Always finds a way out of a jam. So I think we're still in a really good place, and we're bringing back the core and adding some guys. So I think we'll be in a good place to start next year.
All right, yeah, and like I said, maybe getting a three-peat, but obviously it's a little early
Right,
to
right,
do
right,
that.
right. Yep.
It's long season, things can
Hmm.
happen, and as we know in this league, I mean, teams can, any team can win. It's just a
Yep.
matter of a little bit of luck, but also a lot of hard
No,
work,
100%.
as you know all too well.
Yeah,
So, um,
baseball's a game of luck too. Yeah, you have to be good and you have to be lucky. The ball bounces the wrong way sometimes, so you never know.
and then who is, if you had to pick a team that could be a threat to your three-peat chances, who would
Mhm.
it be and why?
Um, I would say Malden is probably going to come back next year with a little bit more. It's their first year in the league, so obviously, every time it's the first time in the league or first time in a tournament, you get there and then you kind of feel it out like, okay, now this is what we have to add to get here. Um, they have tough arms, so I mean that's always going to be tough, and they have some really good bats. We had a couple of the guys on their team come with us for the Cape Cod tournament this year, so we know what they have. So I would expect them to kind of revamp and be back looking a little different next year.
Yeah, speaking of your Cape Cod tournament, can you recap that a little bit? Because I don't know how many people watching were
Yeah.
there or got to, well, I don't think it was live stream. So if you want to just talk about that a little bit and your experience with that.
Yeah, so we went down this third year this year. The first game we were down 3-1 pretty much the whole game, and then we came back in the sixth or the seventh and tied it 3-3. Went into an extra inning, but after that they call it. So we tied that game. The next game we played the Lowell Angels. They had a guy who's thrown pretty well for them on the mound. We ended up getting to him. I think we won. I think it was like 9-5 or 9-4. And then we had some really intense playoff games. Um, the quarterfinals, we played the Orioles, Framingham Orioles, Curry's team. So you know that they've always been good, and they're usually in the championship in that tournament. We ended up winning 3-1. We turned a double play with 2 men on in the bottom of the seventh to end the game. So that was pretty intense. And then the next game we played the Expos. We went into 9 innings, 9 or 10 innings. And there was bases loaded and 2 outs. We were up one, and we back picked the guy off at second base to win the game. And then we had Nick Powers come down on Monday and throw the championship for us from the Malden Marlins. And we played the Cowbells, extremely extremely good team. A lot of ex pros, a lot of ex Division One players on that team. We ended up being able to win 2-0. We had MVP Tommy Linane, who's also on the Mocka Rays. I mean, he came up with every clutch hit. First inning of the championship game. We got guys on first and second. He gets a base hit to score a run, put us up 1-0 early. So, it was really good. It was a really good feeling to get that championship. I know the year before won the first two games. They get bounced out in the first round, even though our starter struck out 16 guys. We just couldn't play to run when we needed to. So it was really good to get that one under our belt this year.
Are you in, or is your team in any other tournaments coming up, or is the year kind of finishing up? Because obviously the 100 innings, it's not a tournament, it's more of an event, but that's something I've seen a lot of players at. And so, are they involved in anything else coming up, or are kind of looking forward to next season at this point?
Yeah, so I don't think we're going to do another tournament this year. We are looking to do a tournament probably earlier in the year next year. It really just all depends on, where it is, what the teams are, who we can get together. Obviously you don't want to travel to those things and travel light or travel with a team that's not going to compete because, half the reason why we're down there is to try to win. But I see more tournaments in our future. We'll definitely be back in the Cape, and I know we're trying to get in at least one more.
Okay. And then last couple of questions. So finish this sentence. The Rays will re or three-peat because.
Uh, we'll three-peat because of our veteran presence, and winning championships is all about having people who can come up in those big moments. And when those big moments don't seem as big because you've been there before, it makes it a little easier.
All right, fair enough. And then obviously we still have a couple championship series that are in
Mhm.
progress at the moment.
Yep.
Is there anything that you can kind of attest to that people should be looking forward to, if they're watching the live stream or going in person, that, they can look forward to for the rest of the tournament? Because I know that's something that a lot of players are watching and coaches as well. So I'm just
Yeah.
curious if you had any thoughts on that as we close out.
Yeah, I mean, I know the 28s and 38s is still going. If you can watch, whether it's getting there or on the live stream, it's great baseball. The 28s, you have the Expos and the Senators, which game one went 13 innings, which is crazy to think about. Two really good squads, really good pitching on both sides. So that's going to be a very good series. And then the Bulls and the Cardinals, again, two very good teams, some very good pitching. I have some teammates on that Bulls team from being with the Bombers, so it's really good baseball, and there's it it's a good watch.
I was gonna say Brock Riley pitching 12 innings the other night was insane. I'm sure you had a reaction to that too.
Insane. Yeah, no, I mean, he's amazing. I know he won the 28th Cy Young, and he's well deserving. He's really tough to battle against. You get up there, you got to be locked in on every single pitch, and he's going to make you earn everything that you get.